Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play BS Zelda Ancient Stone Tablets. Now in the last part, we cleared week 1, and as the only way to play this game is through emulation, you might be wondering how you get your data from week 1 over to week 2. Well, as the witch said at the end of the last part, we have to migrate our SRM file. In the folder where you have whatever emulator you're using, put your SRM files, you're going to want to rename AST1, because I have two here, that's for my test playthrough. So basically, we just want to rename BS Zelda AST1 to BS Zelda AST2, and it'll now act as the save data from from week 1 migrated over to week 2. Now, if I recall correctly, in the actual Satellaview, they used either a password or something else for this. I forget exactly how, but since emulation is the only way to play BS Zelda nowadays, this is how you have to go about it. With that, take it away, kind of past me, kind of future me, because I've already recorded the footage, but I haven't done the commentary for the part yet. The legendary Kingdom of Hyrule. 6 years ago, this land came to be at peace. However, in its troubled past, the leader of thieves, Ganondorf, obtained the Triforce, became the evil King Ganon, and attempted to conquer the land. The priest Aghanim, possessed by Ganon in order to break the seal cast by the sages to entrap the evil king, proceeded to sacrifice the descendants one by one. Zelda, Princess of Hyrule and also a descendant, was therefore imprisoned by Aghanim in the dungeon of Hyrule Castle. However, Zelda called frantically from her cell. "Please help! My name is Zelda. I'm held captive in the castle dungeon." Link, a boy of Hyrule, heard her cries. He began a quest to save the princess and defeat Ganon. Numerous dangers awaited him, but Link, mustering his courage, wisdom, and power, was at last able to defeat the evil King Ganon. He then departed in search of new adventure. The people of Hyrule, extolling the tales of his deeds, came to revere him as Link, the hero. Since then, a time of peace descended upon Hyrule. The youth began an adventure in Hyrule, seeking a sword and shield. No one could decipher the strange characters on the stone tablets the youth had found hidden in the land's dungeons. Seeking some clues, the youth and Agina traveled to the Homa Sahasrara, Elder of Hyrule. Oh, you're awake. Are you going to continue your journey today? Please be careful. You almost forgot your belongings. You should take them with you. You received the big bag. It still carries all your shit. When you go outside, you can use the Ocarina to call a bird. It'll take you any place you wish. Well, you should begin searching for the third stone tablet as soon as possible. If you want to see its location on your map, press the X button when you go outside. Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of BS Legend of Zelda Ancient Stone Tablets. And Stone Tablet number 3 is actually very close to us, just east of Kakariko Village. However, as you'd expect being Kakariko Village, there's stuff we can do here before we progress onwards. Also, I should mention, there was actually more to that intro, mostly just recapping the events of the first week, like Zelda and Agina finding us at that one area of the Eastern Temple. But it's basically word for word the exact same dialogue, so the intros are actually going to be edited down in each week from here on out. Anyway, I skipped over it, but if you fall down the pit in the northwest of Kakariko Village, you still get a piece of heart there. Number 1 of week 2. Like week 1, there are 8 heart pieces to get. So, that's more or less going to be our pattern, actually, for the way this video series works. Part 1 of a week is going to be the first dungeon and some stuff. part 2 is the rest of the stuff in the second dungeon. And there's the next heart piece in this exact building where I think there was only bombs, arrows, and rupees in the first game. Or the original game, at least. Kakariko Village, though, has not seen much change. The only real change is that if you catch the running guy, who I don't even remember if he gave you anything in the original game, he'll give you a blue rupee. I think you can do that an infinite amount of times, too, so that's pretty handy. And in this part of the old maiden's house, you can actually find 100 rupees. Now, one thing I'm not entirely sure about, because I've actually never done this on my own time, is check what's in the other houses, because for the most part, there's no reason to go in them. Get back here, you little... I think you can only catch them when you're going left to right, though. Next up, let's check where a bottle was in the original Link to the Past. And in here is, in fact, piece of heart number 3. I do like that they never place a new item in a previous area. In each week, all the new items are only in the new area of map you're given access to, because now we have basically access from everything from the total west and the total east of the area. Because if they decided to maybe put like the final heart piece somewhere in right near the Eastern Palace, that would just be kind of dickish design. But nope, it's all nice and contained, and I like that. And on this screen, I don't actually think I showed off this screen's equivalent in the original Link to the Past LP week. There's a fairy found beneath a rock pile for stuff that has some rupees as well. And if you check the map, actually, this is where Dungeon 1 is. And there it is right there. If there's anything I don't like about this game, though, it's that a lot of the dungeons don't look like they should be dungeons. For the most part, you just enter them and suddenly you're in a dungeon area. Either way, welcome to Dungeon 3, which, honestly, I find easier than Dungeon 2. And there's the map. I'll look at it eventually. Honestly, the maps in this game are useful, but for the most part, you can figure out where to go in these dungeons very simply, because as I said in the last part, a lot of them are very linear, though this room looks like a smiley face. But as you can see, these things are back from A Link to the Past. The way they work, if you're not familiar with them, if they're red, the red blocks have fallen, but the blue ones have risen. And if you hit them, they change color to blue, and then the blocks rise and fall accordingly. Also, you can dash keys off of walls or torches just by dashing into them. They only use that a total like 3 times in the entire game, though. Even less in Link to the Past. And here's one of the required uses of the boomerang. That's there. And I'm going to be honest, I always miss this for a few seconds. There was a locked door in that previous room I always miss because for some reason, in a room structure like this, I never expect there to be a door down here. That's not me being stupid, that's just me imagining it like it's laid out similarly to something like Minish Cap, where whenever there was a room like that, there generally wasn't, from my knowledge. Mind you, I also haven't played Minish Cap in a while. Not as long as you might expect. I played it over the summer while I was down in Falmouth, actually, for a week. And I actually managed to get even more Kinstone fusions than I did in my LP way back when. That was impressive. That's probably the only Zelda game I'm considering doing a replay of. Because for the most part, I'm happy with the way these LPs have turned out. The only reason I'd redo Minish Cap is because it was the first Zelda game and there are some things I could have done a bit better. And the obvious glitches with the PAL version, as I learned, like you can't get that final bomb upgrade. And in here we get the blue clothes. Now our damage is doubled. Random place for them to be, by the way. That is something I actually do kind of like about these dungeons, is that similarly to... technically, what was it? The Spirit Temple in Ocarina. Some dungeons have 2 items, like this one has the blue clothes and the magic hammer, where you can drive stakes in the ground with it, and can also pound on other things. And now I'm actually going to use the Ocarina, because the Ocarina acts similarly to the magic mirror from A Link to the Past, and then if you use it, you're teleported back to the entrance. The hammer is actually a very good weapon, because first off, it just does some decent damage, but also allows you to hammer down some stakes. And those stakes are going to get in your way a lot. Now, the main reason you want to teleport back to the entrance in this part is just, first off, you can get these rupees, which, you know, rupees are always nice. And back in this room, we can head to the west. You could fall down that hole in the previous room, but if you look at the map, there we are, I'm finally doing it. There are rooms over here that you have to blow up in order to access. And while you can access them from falling down that hole, it just becomes a roundabout way because you'll end up coming back up here to do that. Both that hole and this route lead to the same area. But you know, very pass, I guess. Actually, I wonder, is there a speedrun record for Ancient Stone Tablets? Speed, demos, archives, Ancient Stone Tablets. You don't want to come over here just for rupees, though. It's in this general area, if you look at the map, that our next upgrade thief is as well. Here he is, and this time around, in this week, upgrades are going to cost more. They're going to cost 100 rupees, but now they still give us the same effect. More rupees the farther you go in the weeks, for the same amount of added stuff. Let's see. BS Zelda Ancient Stone Tablets, speedrun.com. First is a Canadian by the name of Acmlm, or however the hell you pronounce ACMLM, at 35 minutes, 40 seconds. Jesus! I wonder how they did that, actually. Maybe they had it laid out so that they had save files or something that they could just switch between when needed to for the weeks, but that's impressive. Dungeon 3, though, is very short. In fact, I think it's probably, aside from maybe the Eastern Palace, the shortest dungeon in the game, which is just kind of odd. In fact, if you actually want to go right to the boss, you can right now because it's directly to the north of us, but I have some other stuff to explore down here because I am going for 100% in the dungeons in terms of map exploration. Got kind of annoying in Dungeon 4, actually, when there's this one area I could swear I couldn't access when I was in those rooms the entire time, but I'll get to that when we get to that next part. For the most part, though, one thing I don't like about the clock system, in terms of like the timed events that happen, like the fairies are showing up on screen right now, is that you see basically every effect that can happen in the first week. Aside from one-time events, nothing really new is added in the second week. The way I probably would have done that is that I probably would have had all, like, the weather effects, the more simple stuff, maybe like one unlimited item type in the first week, and slowly introduce more as you went on. Like in week 3, I would probably introduce the bombos attacks, but that's not. That's a whole debate on game design right there alone, honestly. When you should introduce certain things for a time-based system that only affect you maybe once in the entire week or the entire playthrough, and then you're good. I don't know how to phrase it, but you probably know what I mean. It's a weird thing, and I have over 3,000 rupees, I just realized. It is really ridiculous how quickly you can get the money up in this game. I forget if I mentioned this, but I think Skyward Sword also had a higher cap than 999 rupees. But I don't really play Skyward Sword that much. Not that I find it bad, it's just the fact that it's not one I go back to. Mostly because I don't want to fight the Imprisoned 4 more times. The Imprisoned's a good story element. In fact, I really like the story of Demise. They just made us fight the Imprisoned way too many times. Either way, we're coming up on the boss fight already. This is a very short dungeon. And to a link to the past players, this seems like a bit of an early time to fight this boss. It's the Helmet Sword King. I think that's what his name is. Strategy for this, break the mask with about, I think it's 5 hits with the hammer? Or is it 6? Either way, at that point, this fight becomes really annoying because you have to try and hit him. I would actually recommend going to the, if you're new to the game, I'd recommend going to the rental shop and borrowing the next level sword, but if you're actually good enough with the bow and arrow, you can take him out very quickly, because it takes, I think, 8 arrows to kill him. It's a riskier strategy, but it's the one I like to use because at this point I have more than enough arrows. And that's Dungeon 3 done already. Kinda pathetic. And Stone Tablet 3 get. You got a strange stone tablet. Does this stone tablet have some kind of significance? And with that, we also have, I think, 9 heart containers already. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. And it's at this point that the world opens up a bit more to you. You can really go anywhere you want. However, I'm going to head up and to the left of northwest of Kakariko Village towards the woods. A Link to the Past players would probably try to enter through the other entrance that you know of through A Link to the Past, but I believe that's blocked off at this point by large black stones, which we cannot lift yet. But over here, we do get a mysterious mushroom with a sweet aroma. Must be someone who would want it. We could go use that mushroom for its purpose right now, but instead, I'm going to head a bit north, because at some point on the timer, I forget when, this guy shows up. A Link to the Past players will recognize him as one of the Smiths. He is this week's rescue mission, similarly to Zelda in the previous week. By returning him, we're going to get something else along with 10,000 points. But first, I want to fly off back towards the magic shop, which is the M on the map at this point. Because I can give her this mushroom for something required, actually. And for doing that, you actually have to talk to her first, then press the Y button. We get a leftover pouch. The pouch is magic powder. This is a bit of an odd item. What it does depends on what you do with it. Like if you spray it on the green guys in this general area, they'll turn into something weird. You can also use it on anti-fairies to return them into fairies. I think it's required, at least it should be. Either way, let's go put the Smith back in where he belongs. Hey, old friend, I'm back. Sorry to have worried you. Let's talk to him. Thanks a lot for your help. We ought to repay you somehow. Will you let us temper your sword? Yep. And for doing this, you don't even have to wait any longer like you did in Link to the Past. We get the level 2 sword. And something that I like about they did in this game that was kind of, I think, a rumor more or less in the original game is that, as you can see, I'm hammering these guys and they tell me something. If you hammer the blade that they're working on, they'll give you some money. I think you could do that an unlimited amount of times, but I'm not entirely certain about that one. Next up, let's go outside the Smith's house and hammer that spike thing. Fall into this pit, and now we're presented with a choice. Left or north? Let's head north. Ah, this seems odd. Sprinkle it. Yeah, so you woke me up from my long sleep. Thank you. I had to pay you back somehow. Are you ready? Ah, serves you right. Now you're only able to use half the magic power that you needed before. Well then, you better do your best for what it's worth. Farewell! So, the way they worded that has always been awkward. What just happened is that he reduced the amount of magic we use per thing. So, like, say, if an item would have used a fourth of your magic bar, no, I don't think anything can do that in Ancient Stone Tablets. Now it'll only use an eighth. Basically, we have double the magic, even though they word it really weirdly. Either way, next up, I actually want to go south of the village, because there's a few things we can do down here. First off, the house I'm right next to is actually this week's rental shop. I'll be cutting back into there sometime next part, so remember where it is. And in here, we got some rupees, but also some torches. As you can figure, there's something of worth in this area. And it's exactly what you think it is. We get our next piece of heart. Which is number 4 of the week, apparently. I forgot about that. And there is one more thing we can do before heading on over to Dungeon... I almost said Dungeon 2. Technically, it is Dungeon 2 a week 2, but Dungeon 4. You might remember where the library is from the original Link to the Past. And you might remember where the Book of Mudora was in it. It's now a piece of heart. Something I actually really like about this week in particular, actually, in terms of the way they integrated the voice acting on the bottom, is that Agina is constantly trying to find the Book of Mudora over in Link's house. Oh, and also, the world blew up. My bad. Either way, if you were to check the map, I think I even did earlier, you would know that the next dungeon is, in fact, in these Lost Woods. And I'm going to do that, but I actually forgot I was going to do this. If you fall down this pit like in Link to the Past, there's a bandit. This is where this week's minigame will be next part. It's actually my favorite one in the game, too. But also is another heart piece. They kind of weirdly spread out the heart pieces in some of the weeks. Sometimes you can get most of them right off the bat. Sometimes you have to wait until you do both dungeons to even get most of them. But, well. Also up here, I don't even think there was anything up here in the original Link to the Past. I'm probably wrong about that, though, is a fairies fountain with some rupees in the back. That's actually something I'm not exactly fond of about Ancient Stone Tablets, is that a lot of the hidden areas, like the fairy fountains, are very cut and paste. It almost feels kind of like the original Metroid or Zelda 1 even for that, and I'm not a fan of that, but I can understand why they'd have to do that. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in this tree is in fact Dungeon 4. Thank you guys for watching, and next part we'll be tackling head on. See you guys then.